This is John Delvecchio from Street Skills. Perhaps you're unable to ride your motorcycle at the moment. No worries, with just a few minutes in the garage occasionally, you can build muscle memory so when you do get out on the bike, your skills will be tip-top. The ability to perform advanced motorcycling skills comes with practice. It's difficult to practice sitting on your couch. However, you can sit on a stationary bike and execute the techniques you would like to develop. It is through repetition that these techniques will become habits when out there riding. Therefore, I'll be creating garage motorcycling drills for you to practice sitting on a static motorcycle.
Chapter 3 of my curriculum for coaching tours, the online course in my Cornering Confidence book, has to do with body position. The first garage motorcycling drill had to do with kissing the mirror. I'll touch a little bit upon that in this video, but we're going to go head to toe with our body position, and the objective here is really to maximize comfort and control with certain body positioning techniques. With regard to our head and eyes, focus back on your basic training that said we want to look where we want to go. I found that the term point your nose in the direction you want to go works very well because I can point my nose, my eyes naturally will focus with the central vision in that area, and I'll get what I'll call positive target fixation into the direction that I want to go. Now, it doesn't mean that I can't move my eyes. I can scan and sweep my eyes as long as I keep that nose pointed in the direction I'd like to go. We're going to be in good shape. We also want to try to keep our eyes as level as we can just for the balancing effect, keep us oriented on the motorcycle. A student in my online course recently asked me a question about where do I look on sweepers. This particular rider was focusing on the exit too early. They were turning in too early. Their line was unpredictable. They weren't happy with it. And they've been told, look where you want to go. Look for that exit as soon as possible. And I think they might have been going a little bit overboard with the sweepers. And so the student asked me, well, what do you do? And upon reflection, this was my response. Generally, when we're going through tight switchbacks or parking lot maneuvers, we're really going to turn that head and point that nose as far behind us as we can. But that's not going to work as well when you're going through sweepers. So basically with the sweeper head and eyes positioning, we want to look over our mirror into the turn, and if we keep our body position the same, we can scan and sweep with our eyes, and more of the turn will become visible until we see our exit, and then we can lock on the exit. You don't have to try to look all the way through that sweeper for the exit. We can take it as it comes. Now, when it comes to the arms, the big thing here is we don't want to have locked elbows. We need some bend in our arms. What that's going to do is it's going to make us more relaxed, and it's also going to give us proper leverage. If I'm leaning down on these bars, it's harder to get neutral steering. Now, I just basically tell people you want to keep your arms loose and level. Level forearms to the road. And nice and loose. Now, shoulders and back, just get them in a nice, comfortable position. If your arms are doing what they should and your head is doing what it should, you're keeping it up, you're looking where you want to go, then the back and the shoulders sort of fall into place if you're relaxed. Let's take a look at our hands now and positioning for those. We'll start with the left. Generally, what I will do is I'll just place my hand comfortably on the grip. I like to keep a little bit of a gap between the end flange and the inside of my hand where my index finger is and my thumb, just because I'm usually moving my thumb around for the turn signal and that kind of thing. I find if I'm far pressed over, it's a little bit more difficult to use those controls. When it comes to the clutch, simply I reach and squeeze, and then I release. Every time you use that clutch, from your first ride to your last ride, you want to make sure that you ease it out slowly So if you're just dropping that clutch, that would be improper. You're making the motorcycle perform a little bit too abruptly. And now for the clutch lever. The number of fingers that you use is completely up to you. I tend to use 3. Sometimes I get that pinky up there. The idea behind that is over a long day's ride, pulling in that clutch repeatedly causes fatigue. And I want to make sure that I'm releasing that clutch is smooth every single time. It also helps to pull it in nice and smooth. So that's something you can practice. Pull that lever in and out nice and smoothly. Now, when I go to come to a stop, I'll generally use my knuckle creases, and I won't do much different than most people do when they pull in that clutch. I'm going to want to use my fingers with their most strength, and so I won't do anything specific there. I'll just do what everyone else does. I'll use my whole hand to pull in that clutch. However, when I do shift, I do something called palm pulling, which is I use the palm of my hand against the grip, and I just sort of squeeze with the fingertips just enough to make the gear change, and then I ease it out slowly. When it comes to the clutch lever, this is just me using my knuckle creases to pull in the clutch normally like most people do, and then would just release that clutch lever. If I had pulled it all the way in, let's say at a stoplight or whatnot, I would use this hand technique, and then I release it nice and slowly. Just remember, every time you squeeze the clutch, even if it's partial, we want to ease it out slowly every single time. Now, when I'm shifting gears, I'm not going to want to pull the clutch all the way in. So I use what's called the palm pulling technique. So I'll put my palm against the grip, and then I will use just my fingertips here, and it's almost like just kind of like a pull enough. It's hard to see from this angle, but you can just see that my palm is resting here, and my fingertips are just squeezing it in enough to change that gear and then release it nice and easy. So this is what it looks like when I'm just using my regular knuckle creases to squeeze the clutch all the way in, let's say at that stop. Now for shifting gears, it looks a little different. Palm, pull. And you can see I'm only just using my fingertips, actually the first half of my fingers, to squeeze in just enough to change that gear and then release and off to the races. Now on the right grip, unlike my left hand, I like to take my hand and push it all the way up against the flange so that when I'm actuating the throttle, I have some other muscle groups helping with that. Then I usually will rest my first 2 fingers, the secret weapon as I teach, on the brake lever. And with this one, I'm using brake throttle transitions, the roll it up, squeezing in a downward direction, and then roll it down technique, which is releasing the brake as we roll on the throttle. So this is really the crown jewel of what I teach, the brake throttle transitions, the secret weapon. We're just talking about it briefly here. But this is the key to 100% cornering confidence, this technique right here. And here's the throttle hand. We're going to push our hand over to the flange, rest our fingers on the lever, curl these 2 fingers around the grip. I'm not using either control. So rolling it down looks like this. I'm rolling my throttle on, not doing anything with the lever. Now I'm going to roll off, close the throttle before I reach and squeeze for the lever, nice and easy. We always want to release that brake lever just as smoothly as we squeeze it in. And this would be us using engine braking or coasting. So we have throttle, brake. I separate these 2 things. So this is the secret weapon hand position that I talk so much about. Now, when it comes to the butt, I'm a big fan of mostly upper body movements for us sport touring riders. Typically, I will keep my body centered on the motorcycle, and I don't do a whole lot of moving around. Now, sometimes I will slide over into a position where I might get one butt cheek off the seat that kind of brings my center in, and I can actually do my kiss the mirror body positioning and so forth. This could be when you're going a little faster and you want just a little bit more vertical straightening principle of the motorcycle. Now, when it comes to the knees, I just tell people don't worry about your knees, because you can keep them tucked in as you come in to kiss the mirror. You can point your toe out and your knee out as you go in, if that makes you more comfortable. I find that if you force the knee to do something, it's less enjoyable and it might not even be as comfortable. And I'm not a big fan of lower body movements through, especially sport touring, throughout the day, because you're just going to exhaust yourself. Now, the last thing is your feet. And we want to place the ball of our foot, which is the portion of our foot behind our toes, on the foot pegs. What this is going to do is it's going to allow us to stand up on the pegs if we need to. It'll keep our toes up off the ground in the twisties so that we don't catch a toe. So this is the positioning for our foot. I'm putting the ball of my foot on the peg, but you can see to use the brake pedal, it's really far away there. So I would want to use the arch of my foot or near the heel to use as a pivot point to use that brake lever. Once I'm finished with those levers, go back to that positioning. So here's how to do your body positioning garage motorcycling drills. Simply grab an iPad or something, set it in front of you. Go out to YouTube and find somebody who's recorded, let's say, Route 250 in Virginia or Tail of the Dragon, and you're in their helmet view. Simply set up the iPad in front of you and just go through with them and pretend that you are actually riding the road. You can even make vroom vroom noises. But as you're riding through, simulate what you would be doing. Think about where your arms are. There's no consequences here for you to take a little bit of a moment to think about what you would be doing in that scenario. For example, let's say I'm coming up on a left-hander at the Tail of the Dragon. I would have maybe my hand on the clutch lever, ready to change a gear, or keeping that secret weapon positioning, brake, throttle, and with the motorcycle off, just use brake and throttle, perhaps even coasting periods. Get into that kiss the mirror positioning. Would you have to maybe move a butt cheek off? Would you be tense? And try to think through these things in a virtual situation on a parked motorcycle in your garage. Thanks for watching. So those are some body positioning garage motorcycling drills you can work on. Be sure to work on your skills even when you can't be riding. If you have any questions or comments, please share them below. Ask me through email. Subscribe, like, share with your friends and riding buddies. I also have a book that gets into more details about body positioning. It explains a little bit more of what I have here. I have an online course which you can enroll in right now, and it takes you from A to Z on how to have cornering confidence, my specific method or formula. And I look forward to getting your emails and hearing from you. Take care.